Welcome back to News Now. On a Monday morning, the president's announcement of this limited ceasefire, putting a pause on plans to take out power plants in Iran, is having an immediate effect on oil prices. They are dropping like a rock today. Stocks, meanwhile, they were soaring as we came to air. Tech shares, they're rallying too. Oil prices tumbling, all due to one Truth Social post by the president a short time ago. Former managing editor of Forbes Magazine, host of What's Bugging Me, and the author of The Leadership Genius of Elon Musk, Dennis Kneale, joining me here in studio. I always love it when you join me on breaking news to get your perspective. Wow, it was a wild ride in the markets. And we hadn't even, the opening bell hasn't even rung, right?
Yes, and 1,000 points up in the futures for the Dow, and oil just suddenly, and right upon, I came here ready this morning to build a passionate counter defense for why the fear is overstated, for why there's way too much pessimism out there. It doesn't have to be like this. United Airlines projected that, my gosh, oil will rise to 175 a barrel and stay there till the end of 2027. And instead, the markets have just showed us everything that the fear is overdone. So the question is, will it hold? What do you think?
Well, that's what I'm wondering about today. You know, what do we got? 3 or 4 minutes before the opening bell. Brent crude, my producers are saying, you said $98 a barrel? I believe that was the control room is telling us it's $98 a barrel. Does it hold today? That's my question for you.
I think it will. And for Trump to, I mean, look at this. The president puts out one tweet on Truth Social, a platform no one even follows. You know, it gets followed on X. Oh, he said this on Truth Social.
Sure.
And it's enough to just shift the entire world's feelings. Everyone dances to Trump's tune, don't they? Either in opposition to him or just in response and reaction to him.
So the Strait of Hormuz, whatever happens in the next 5 days, the president said, you know, by 7 o'clock this evening, it was, you know, later today, they had until later today to open the strait and allow oil to flow once again. If not, he was going to take out their civilian energy
your
supply.
Biggest one. We'll start with your biggest one,
yes.
He said. Yes. And so that threat, what do you think? It must have brought them to the table. And then, you know, there's this old Saturday Night Live sketch in which John Belushi plays a samurai. He's got this sword. He's always threatening to take that out. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the way President Trump plays this. Don't make me do this. And then suddenly he can step back from it. But let's remember a couple things longer range. I just did some fresh research because it's always been overstated how much high oil will feed high inflation. Vastly overstated because when oil goes up, you have to fill your gas tank to get to work. You have no other choice to spend on that. And so you don't spend as much supporting higher prices of other stuff. Mm-hmm. And so just a new stat, if oil's up 40%, it might add 0.2% to the inflation rate. It's been overstated as what a big deal it is.
So what do we expect later today? Do you think everything, you know, comes back down? How do we end the day, Dennis? Look into the lens for the end of the day.
Let's remember that
because we tend to see this. We see a social media post from the president. The markets go crazy for about an hour, and then everything calms down.
Sure,
again.
Things calm down. It's just that we've been down so much up to this point that I think it'll bounce back and hold on. Now, the question is, though, from here, the very fact that it jumped this much, right, means that it could easily, Shannon, go down in an instant on a different announcement from Trump.
Absolutely.
So it's a matter of how he plays it.
And let's be real, consumers won't see a change at the gas pump for some time.
Right. Well, they jacked it up $1 a gallon or something in my neighborhood down here, and it's not going to go down $1 now because of today's action. They're going to keep it up as long as we are willing to pay it. So shop around.
Let me throw back up, if we can, from the control room, the map of the Strait of Hormuz. At the end of the day, Dennis, our analysts were on a short time ago. Whatever negotiation takes place in the next 5 days, it has to end with the United States and our European allies having control of the Strait of Hormuz. When you look on at the map,
yes,
undeniably.
80% of the world's oil supply goes through that strait, and there's no way that Iran can be allowed to control it just by the threat. And given that our allies, they need the oil going through that strait more than we do. We're energy independent. We can do without it.
Sure.
And given that they then refuse to join escorts with the U.S. to help those ships get through that, that's unfortunate to see. It's kind of cowardly, and they're the ones who are going to feel the pain. So there's no way we can allow Iran to do that. And the great thing is, for the first time in years, we know that there's no way that President Trump will allow that to happen.
Well, these 2 missiles fired at Diego Garcia, I think, got the world's attention. I think there was no question. Our NATO allies are certainly standing up and taking notice. We'll see if we drag him to the table in terms of support. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, I think he was prepping the nation for a similar message you had for our audience today. He was on Meet the Press this past week, and let's play that clip if we can.
I don't know whether it's going to be 30 days. I don't know whether it's going to be 50 days. I don't know whether it's going to be 100 days. But to have 50 years, peace in the Middle East, and know that the Iranian regime is defanged.
Yeah.
He was making the case that you came to make this morning, a similar case, which was, are you willing to pay a bit more at the pump and feel it in the pocketbook for the prospects of really peace in this region?
Yes, to be rid of the most murderous dictatorship regime that has hated America for 50 years, and for every opponent out there and every Democrat and every kind of Republican waffling on this, would you prefer that those 48 or 50 top leaders of this terrible regime were still alive and in power? I don't think you'd prefer that. And I think we could come out of this in much better shape. And imagine this specter. The Dow is up 800 points, your producers were just saying.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice to see, isn't it?
Right.
Of course, back in the day, 800 points was a lot. But when the Dow's been bumping up there at 40 or near 50,000, then suddenly it's not as much.
The president did ease sanctions on Iranian oil. Your thoughts? There was a lot of pushback on that.
Yeah, what the heck was that? I don't understand that at all. But I don't think it's some error instantly. I think that Trump and his advisors have a direction they're going, and they know. And he's always doing, doesn't he act, Shannon, as both the good cop and the bad cop? He's kind of bipolar, back and forth.
Art of the Deal, former managing editor of Forbes Magazine, host of What's Bugging Me, the podcast, and author, Dennis Kneale. Thanks for being here.
Great to see you.
Good to see you as well.